Restaurant Unstoppable. Inspire, empower, and transform the industry. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, co-owner of Blue Oak, Ronnie Evans. Ronnie, my man, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Oh, feel amazing. Very unstoppable. Happy to be here.
Dude, I'm excited for this conversation because we literally just wrapped the interview on the heels of your business partner, Phil, and it's not every day that I get to do back-to-back interviews with partners. I literally have all the notes I just took from him, and now we're going to go after you and your version of the story. So we'll see what parts of the story we can fill in, if it lines up exactly. I know this is going to be good, though, but before we dive into it, let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
So I think when I think about a mantra that I think about every day, I would say something my dad used to tell me every time when I got off, when he dropped me off at school, he'd say, work hard and have fun.
Work hard and have fun. Why is that the one you chose to go with? Why does that resonate?
I just think you can apply that to anything. You know, if we're coming to work and we're miserable and not having fun, then what are we doing? We should try to create an environment that's fun and work hard doing it.
Yeah. Lately, I feel this need to echo my core values whenever I hear them come up in conversation. You just hit core values 6 and 7. 6 being we show up. In my mind, that means work hard. And the last one's have fun. Because what's the point? What's the point if you're not enjoying this ride around the earth? You know what I'm saying?
Couldn't agree more.
On this rock hurling through the space. So where does it make sense to start sharing your story?
I would say college would be where we should start.
Okay.
So I went to the University of Alabama from between 2006 and 2010. Roll Tide.
Got it.
Phil would say, go Tigers. But went there, enjoyed my time there. So real quick, I was in this English class, kind of close to that English class freshman year. Saw this guy we became friends with, enjoyed the class. Hadn't seen him in a couple years after that. And we were in a class senior year at Alabama, and I hadn't seen him. And I just saw him like walking by. I was like, hey, man, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. And he was like, I'm actually about to open this barbecue restaurant. It's called Moe's Original Barbecue in Tuscaloosa. And I was like, oh, great. It's like, well, if you need any help, man, I'd be happy to lend a hand. And he gave me somebody's number. I called somebody, put in an application, and I got hired. And that was like my first restaurant experience.
This isn't the OG Moe's, is it? Or is it a franchise that's open?
So the original Moe's was started in Tuscaloosa. Then it like kind of closed. And then they moved to Vail, Colorado. So the home base is in Vail, Colorado. So this was considered a franchise.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
This would be in 2009.
Okay.
Maybe 2010.
So, I mean, when did you know that this path, like that food was going to be your path? Because talking to Phil, it sounds like you guys were dreaming about restaurants from an early time.
Yeah, we'd always talked about it like it was, you know, we were like, oh, we should open a bar or a restaurant one day, and kind of, you know, pipe dream. We'd been friends since we were little. I guess we could go back that far because Phil and I met in 5th grade. Yeah. So I guess we should have gone back that far. But we'd always talked about it. It was always just like this kind of crazy idea. So back to like the Moe's thing, I worked there and it was just kind of a job, just to kind of make ends meet. And I started doing dishes. Then I would like scoop sides and yada yada, and started to really like it. And I was graduating Alabama, didn't have anything planned, and some of the guys there were like, you should move to Vail and go ski and work at the barbecue restaurant there. They've got a barbecue restaurant in Lion's Head in Vail, Colorado, which is like right at the base of the mountain. Got it. And so I was like, sounds good, let's go. So I hopped in a car, packed my bags, never been there, and just kind of moved up there and started hitting it. You went to school for business. Is it worth talking about that? Did you learn anything? Is like, did you know from day one that you wanted to open your own business? Is this all part of the plan? Yes and no. I mean, my dad was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. So I feel like it's kind of, maybe it's ingrained a little bit. What kind of business were they in? My grandfather started a 55-gallon drum manufacturing business. Okay. It used to be called like a cooperage. You know, they used to make like wooden barrels to store whatever. Got it. And then they moved to like steel, and then it kind of ran its course and closed late 90s. Okay. And then my dad started a business after that. He was in like the plastics business, and he's been doing that ever since. So manufacturing, basically. Yeah, a lot of manufacturing, like not the pretty stuff.
Well, restaurant industry is arguably manufacturing. You just see like every element of the line.
It's
right?
the like sexier form of manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly. So you're still doing the family business, right?
Sure.
Okay, so when you graduate, when you're going through school, are you saying to yourself, restaurants? This dream you had with Phil, is that what's in the back of your mind, or are you just still kind of open to whatever the world throws at you?
I mean, at that point, I had no idea what I was doing. I'd actually looked at moving to Australia for a stint because my dad had a friend there, and he was like, could set me up with a job, and I was like, I just want to like go do something that's not like a desk job or figuring things out. I thought maybe I'd go in the family business. I had no idea, like me starting to work at this restaurant. I did not think that it would lead to me talking to you right now.
So working at Moe's wasn't the first restaurant experience you have, is it?
In the back of house, yes.
Okay.
Before that, I worked at a family member's restaurant as like a waiter.
Okay.
Yeah.
At that time in this evolution of you as a restaurant professional, were you thinking like, this is it? Like, I love this. I want more of this.
I really enjoyed it because a part of like growing up in New Orleans, like food is so ingrained in everything that we do here. It's kind of like you like live to eat. You don't eat to live. Mm-hmm. So I've always been very passionate about food, but I didn't think that I would be the one delivering it or serving it.
Got it. So thanks for filling in all those details. So you go through the University of Alabama. You have this opportunity to join forces with somebody who's opening a Moe's barbecue. Why barbecue? What's going on with barbecue?
I don't know. I knew nothing about it when I started working there. Like I said, I was like doing dishes for the first month or so, and then like scooping sides. Like I didn't really know how to boil pasta at that point. Like my cooking skills were nothing. And then I just kind of really liked the culture. I liked the people that were there. It just kind of started to feel right. And then once I started cooking more, when I moved to Colorado, and then Phil joined me later, I really started to dig it and like kind of see the nuts and bolts and how it works.
What about it really resonated with you?
I mean, like I said, it was just the people there, the vibe. It was just fun. You're on your feet. You're working hard. It's almost like you're exercising while you're working because you're like moving around and
getting
picking
those
up
steps in.
Yeah, picking up like cases of pork butts or ribs and going up and down stairs, and it's just like very lively and like it makes the day go quick.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
What is it about the people that appeal to you?
I mean, I found everyone to be very warm, and like welcoming and fun. Like people in the restaurant business, I feel like they want you to have fun. The people that walk through the door, you want to have a good time. Mm-hmm. It doesn't want to be like the stuffy kind of thing. It's like you're there to celebrate.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm confused right now. I know that you were in Alabama. Did you work? You opened. They moved to Vail, Colorado, the franchise. But you and Phil were never in Vail, Colorado, right?
No, we
you
did.
Were in Vail, but you started. But you started in Alabama.
Yeah, I started working
as
a quick job in Tuscaloosa, and then they were like, "Hey, why don't you move up to Vail to the headquarters?"
So how long were you in Tuscaloosa before making the trip up to headquarters?
My stint in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you start working? Was it your freshman year, all throughout college?
Senior year of college.
Okay.
Yeah. I may have screwed that up somewhere along the line.
No, there's just a lot of details. Now I have two storylines too, so it's hard to figure out where everybody comes in.
Yeah, because at this point, Phil was like over here, and then I'm over here on the left, like polar out. We're just kind of like slowly converging.
So somebody must have saw something. You must have had a talent. You must have been. Did you get a lot of feedback as like, oh, you're good at this. You're doing a good job. Like, do you want opportunity? Like, when did you get out of like the more grunt work stuff and start maybe getting behind the pit?
So when I was in Tuscaloosa at the Moe's there, it was I was a grunt. Like I wasn't much thought, and I was just kind of doing what somebody else told me to. When I got up to Colorado, after a few months, I kind of really get an understanding of things, and like maybe got some reps like putting meats on the pit and pulling them off and things like that. And then after 6 months or so, maybe a year, I was in like more of like a leadership role where I would kind of like run a shift and kind of just make sure things went the right way and smoothly.
So like AGM kind of, or like
no, just like I would just say like if a point person in the kitchen, not necessarily like a GM or an AGM, but like if the chef is not in, like I'd probably be a point person in the kitchen.
Got it.
Right.
At what point did you ever think maybe I could have more here? Like maybe there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
In this organization?
We wanted to franchise Moe's, which is a big franchise. I think they got like 60 or 70.
When did that come into your mind that maybe I might be able to franchise Moe's?
A little while, like probably 6 months after we
Made the move.
I moved to Vail, and then I was like, wow, this is really cool. Phil was working in the coffee business down here. He was a coffee importer right here on the river. And I remember where I was. I was like we were catering a wedding in the summertime. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I think I want to do this. So I called Phil. I was like, we talked a little bit about it, but I think this is like the moment where he was like, all right, let's do it.
Okay.
So I just like called him and I was like, hey, this is really cool. Like we could do something. We could go franchise, whatever. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And then he moved up to Vail, and we shared a bedroom for like about a year.
So it's continuation of college experience.
Yeah,
basically,
right.
with the
'Cause we
roommate.
hadn't been together in college. Like he went to LSU, I went to Alabama.
Yeah.
So we kind of reunited since like it was like the first time we had been together that much since middle school.
Got it. So when Phil comes up, does the I guess the work ethic change? Do you start taking it more seriously because now you're thinking maybe we could have one of these of our own? What was that how did that change when Phil came up there?
Well, I don't think it changed that much. It just became more of a reality. The idea of like actually having our own barbecue restaurant, and this is the path we were going on. So it just kind of made it more real, knowing that he had moved and like he had this job that he quit, and then he hopped in his car and drove up. Like it just kind of became like, oh wow, this is like a real thing. We're doing it.
Would you say there was a key mentor at Moe's? Somebody specifically that might have saw something in the two of you? I know you didn't eventually, you decided to get away from Moe's and not open a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But was there somebody that taught you guys a lot?
I mean, there were so many great people there. They were all kind of preparing. Most people that were there were kind of planning to open another restaurant. So there were a lot of like great people there. But I would say like the mentors were, like the three owners that they had there, Jeff, Ben, and Mike, and then a couple of the other leaders there, like Rusty, our buddy Rusty White, and some other fellas. And they're all doing well and super appreciative of them helping us out. But yeah, I mean, kind of like everyone there was kind of a leader.
Yeah. What happens? How did that shift? Because at this point, you're not really taking it too seriously. But what happens when you're surrounded with other people who are motivated and looking to grow? Was there a reason why you're going to Vails? Were they grooming people? Is that
that's kind of like it's like they're kind of farming up these people to kind of get them ready to do their own thing.
What lessons did you learn during this time that you think were the most impactful as far as restaurant operations?
Well, I think it just like having everyone wanting to open up the restaurant and the mindset, like everyone was kind of professional. And it just created this environment where like everyone's like at the top of their game, and you're trying to better. It's like a competition, right? Yeah. Like everyone's trying to be better than the other guy because everyone's like operating at a high level. So you're always trying to like outdo the next person and set up the person behind you, and just like everyone's trying to outdo each other almost. Not in like an aggressive way, like in a fun kind of way.
Yeah, it's just holding each other accountable. It's
so
friendly competition.
Yeah, the big thing there was like setting up the guy behind you, or guy or gal, whoever. And
what does that mean? Get into that.
Like setting up the person behind you. It's like making sure that when the person that is behind you coming in, they're set up for success. Like everything that you need to get done to make sure that they have a great shift, you have done, and you're making the transition as easy as possible.
I love that. So these people, was it Jeff, Ben, Mike, Rusty? Were they above you? Were they mentors, or were these colleagues?
They were the owners of the franchise, and then Rusty was like kind of like a director of operations kind of guy.
Looking at these individuals, did any one of them really inspire you? Did you really admire any one of these people specifically? Who?
I would say Rusty was probably like my closest friend there, and then Mike was more of the culinary guy of the three partners, and I probably like resonated most with him.
So Rusty or Mike?
Right, yeah, Rusty and Mike.
Rusty and Mike. So why Rusty?
Rusty was like, I felt like he was just kind of an older version of me. Kind of, we had a lot of similar interests, and he was a great guy, and we're still like really good friends. We don't get to see each other that much. We've got kids and family and all that jazz, and don't see him as much. But he was just like a great guy, positive person.
What did he teach you?
What did he teach me?
More just about like how to be. Like you admired the way he conducted himself.
Yeah, I think we just got along really well, and
Yeah.
he was older, and he kind of mentor. I can't really think of anything specific, but he was just a great guy.
Okay. What about Mike? Did Mike? Because this is like really where you're starting to sharpen the saw and learn and cut your teeth
Right.
on how to barbecue well. What did he teach you?
He taught me how to cook. He really taught me how to cook because I didn't really know that much. Like,
yeah. It's where this isn't. So it's most people are like, why don't you talk about food on the podcast? Because the answer to that question is because you're opening a fucking restaurant. I hope you know how to cook.
Yeah.
Right. But what did he teach you about operations and kitchen operations?
I mean, it was like, I think attention to detail,
Yeah.
like paying close attention to detail. Like when you're cutting something, cut it the same way every time, so you know that it's the same. Like eliminating variables.
Are there things you can do to make sure it's being cut the same way? Or what would you do?
I think it's all about just training and teaching
Developing
and being
the eye.
heavy-handed, because he's at this point they had 20 or 30 restaurants, and he was still very heavy-handed, like running a shift with the crew
Okay.
to make sure everybody was like staying kind of dialed in.
Why is it important to be heavy-handed?
I think it's a few things. Like one is you kind of want to lead by example, and then two, just let people know that like you know how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like Phil and I aren't really much in the kitchen anymore, but we try to get in there every once in a while just to let them know, like, we kind of created all this stuff ourselves. We can kind of hang, which, we're a little rusty, but we still try to get in there every once in a while.
So at what point, I mean, up to this point, you and Phil are thinking to yourself, we're going to own Moe's barbecue joints across America and be millionaires. That's the plan.
Probably so, yeah.
So what changed?
So we were actually going to do a franchise in Baton Rouge, and there was some financial issues that we came across. We didn't have like a ton of money, so we decided to just figure things out on our own, and we just moved back home and went and bought a barbecue pit and decided to start our own thing. That was pretty much it.
So basically the issue was you didn't have the operating capital to invest in the first location, because that's a big part of franchising. You need to have the cash behind you,
Right.
to buy in. What was that number? Do you remember how much you needed?
I don't. I know the franchise fees are like a couple tens of thousands. I'm not sure. And then there's a percentage of some sort. And then, obviously the build out costs, which could be pretty big.
Yeah. So was that kind of deflating? Were your sales kind of, did that take the wind out of your sales?
It was definitely disheartening when it happened, but I feel like, obviously it was kind of a blessing. But yeah, I mean, the first couple months it was upsetting. We didn't really know what we were doing. And then we decided to kind of go in, like invest in ourselves and figure it out.
Okay.
And it kind of, the growing pains of starting your own thing.
So when did you guys come back to New Orleans? And what was the dialogue? What was going on?
We came back to New Orleans summer, I guess like late spring, summer of 2012.
Okay. When you're back, I mean, after work, because this is the first time you ever worked with Phil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there clear lanes starting to be developed?
Not yet. We had no idea what we were doing.
Were you doing the same exact work when you were in Vail?
Yeah, I mean, we were like essentially like, line cooks, working
Okay.
the pits, like that stuff, which we are both comfortable with. I did more like would make sides and like other specialty items in the morning. And then, he might work the pit or do some other stuff. But, I was kind of like more like the side guy because he'd make fresh sides every day. All that. So
when you decided that this opportunity in Baton Rouge wasn't going to work because you're undercapitalized, what was the dialogue? What was happening between the two of you?
Well, that specific location had fell through, so we were thinking like, oh, maybe we can just like keep looking, or maybe we do New Orleans. And at some point, I was kind of drug my feet a little bit on starting our own thing, but then we kind of talked about it and talked through it a bunch, and we was like, let's just roll the dice and try it out.
So did you have a strategy? Because one of the things we identified talking to Phil was that you guys had a vision from an early time and goals that kind of help you kind of stay on this path. What do you remember what your goals were? Or when did those goals start to really kind of firm up?
I mean, I think ultimately when we decided to not do the Moe's thing, we just wanted, our goal was to open a restaurant and to like a brick and mortar, like a place where we can open the door and walk in.
How long do you remember thinking to yourself how long it would take to actually make it happen?
I thought it would take forever. I mean, I would think, I mean, I try to put my head in that like 2012 24-year-old body. Maybe that's me thinking about it now. Maybe I'm thinking there like, oh, maybe a year or 6 months and we'll figure it out. But I didn't realize, how long it would take, because it basically took 6.5 years.
Yeah.
Until we actually found maybe 5.5 or so, where we actually got our own spot.
So you come back from, did you ever end up being in Baton Rouge, or did you just kind of skip over that?
We never spent, Phil spent time in Baton Rouge in college, but we never went up there and spent time. We just went back home, and because we had to live with our parents because we didn't have any money.
So you were living with your parents. To paint the picture of your lifestyle, what did you have to your name?
So is this before Blue Oak started or
before?
Yeah.
When you come back with your tail between your legs because you're not open.
So when we worked at Moe's and Vale, we it was a pretty comfortable place. The hourly pay was pretty good. Everybody was on tips. So we were able to live there, enjoy ourselves, and save money. So we didn't save a ton of money. I think at that time maybe I had $5,000 or $6,000 in the bank, maybe 10. I don't think it was that much. It may have been 5,000 or 6,000, which I thought at the time was holy
high
crap!
roller.
Look at all this.
Life
this is
good.
unbelievable. So yeah, I mean it was we were young and just figuring stuff out. And they're probably not prepared mentally for what it was going to be to open our own spot.
So what was your strategy? What was your plan? Did you have a plan?
Well, so what we did was we went to Alabama. We found this barbecue pit in Alabama. We actually had a third partner for a very short stint, a guy named Jean-Marc Bonin, who's now an attorney. And we all decided to buy a barbecue pit and start a barbecue, whatever it was. We didn't have a name or anything. So we spent about $4,000 on this barbecue pit, went and picked it up, brought it back. And then we kind of just started doing friends' backyards, cooking stuff.
How many backyard barbecues would you say you did before?
Probably a handful, not a ton.
Yeah.
Our biggest gig this is when we found out that our third partner would leave, which is probably...
There was a third partner?
Yeah.
Was that the lawyer?
Yeah, that's Jean-Marc Bonin.
I didn't know that
lawyer.
he was a partner. I thought you guys just bought the pit from him.
No, he was, so there was three guys. There was me, Phil, and Jean-Marc, we call him Bonin. And he was he wanted to come on the ride with us, but he decided that he wanted to go to law school, and it's this is not for me, which it's a
better figure it out early on.
Yeah, because it's an incredible blessing, because if he had been around during the Grits days, the early days of Blue Oak, we would not be here today, I don't think.
Why?
Because there was just no money to go around.
Yeah, 3 ways would be tough.
I mean, it was, Phil and I were paying ourselves $2.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Working 70, 80 hours a week. And if you add another person to that, I mean, there's just nothing. You couldn't do it.
So in your mind, in 2012, were you even calling it a pop-up?
I mean, it was like a residency. I guess at the time, you probably just call it a pop-up, but it was like a permanent pop-up. We were Blue Oak at Grits, which is the bar that we found a home in.
So this is where it's going to be hard for me to pretend like I don't know anything, because I got the story. So talking to Phil, he said he did one backyard barbecue.
Yeah, I think, so it was at our buddy Kyle's house.
Okay.
Or there was a couple guys there, yeah.
And what was that like? What did you learn from that experience? What was putting yourself back in that experience?
We charged I don't know what it was, $15, $20 a head. It may not have been that much. Maybe 10 or 15. And then we just cooked and did a couple sides. We cooked ribs and pork butts. And, I mean, we didn't make any money. We may have broken I don't think we broke even. It was nothing.
I mean, there's a part of me that also sell. I really think this is the way to go, because early on, I think what you should be doing is just be having fun. Do what you love. If this is truly what you want to do for the rest of your life, you should love doing it, right? And for early on, you're just kind of figuring it out. You're just getting in there, and you're just putting food in mouths and getting feedback and trying to figure it out. Is that what it felt like, or were you guys no, we're legitimate right now?
No, I mean, we probably felt like we were legitimate, kind of puff your chest a little bit. But,
yeah.
if anyone outside looking in, be like, these guys don't know what they're doing.
Were you out to make a profit on that first backyard?
I think we were just testing.
Yeah.
Kind of just like we bought this barbecue pit. We wanted to feed people, get some like feedback, kind of figure it out. And after that, our first like real gig was we popped up at this. I think it was the 5-year anniversary of this bar in Mid City called Mid City Yacht Club.
Yep.
So that was like our first like paid gig, and I think we made like $600 or $700, and Phil and I are like, our eyes are like wide open, like, whoa, like this is some money, this is awesome. Like, what do we do? Should we go like out and spend it all? Let's do that. So that was like the first paid gig, and then after that, we reached out to this bar, Grits, which I've been talking about.
Yeah.
And they had an open kitchen. It was like brand new, nice kitchen, and we reached out to them and talked to the owner for probably about 2 or 3 hours, and he told us why we should not get into the restaurant business. We like met at a coffee shop or drinking coffee, and he's like, this is why you should not do this. And he like broke it down by like numbers. It's like, if you run efficiently, like you're maybe looking at 10% profit.
Do you think that's the case today? Do you agree with that today?
To not get in the restaurant business?
Sorry, I was like half hiccuping. When
No,
I was
you're good.
saying that. Do you agree with that idea that 10% is, if you're lucky, what you'll get?
I don't think so. I mean, it depends on what kind of food you're serving. I think if you get into like fine dining, it gets much tighter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you barbecue, there's not a lot of waste. So like those margins aren't as small. I think there's ways to do it. You can get tighter with things. Like you don't have to have like a marketing budget. You can kind of eliminate some of these like budgets that you think you might take in that you don't, that can make it much bigger than that.
I do think this gentleman, what was his name, the owner of Grits?
Chris Hernandez.
I do think he was doing you a favor, though. I think the first thing, if you're listening to this and you're opening a restaurant or you've been in business and somebody approaches you and they say, I want to open a restaurant too, number one, talk them out of it. That's the best thing you can do for anybody. And that's really what I try to do sometimes with this show. I'm really trying to give people firsthand how hard it is. Do you really want to do this? Do you really want to live with your parents for 4 years and make $2.15 an hour? Like I have stories of literally people sleeping on the floor of the bathroom of their restaurant to get by. Like that's gnarly.
Yeah.
Are you willing?
We were lucky.
Right?
I mean, none of what we did was by design. It was like dumb luck, and it all just kind of worked out.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that we started so small and then like slowly.
How were you able to make it work? Like how were you able to only make $2.15 an hour? Like what?
We were living at home. We didn't really go out much because we were just there all the time. Mm-hmm. Like we didn't have a social life. Like our 20s, we didn't do anything. We were just doing Blue Oak. Like that was it.
You have any regret?
No, not at all. I mean, no, absolutely not. If I could like relive a year when I was 27, maybe if I had a little bit more money, that'd be more fun.
Yeah.
But I was broke the whole time. So, but I have no doubt. I have like no regrets or anything like that.
So these first couple of pop-ups you did before you really started getting into Grits, the backyard pop-ups and the late night yacht club, did you learn anything the hard way during these times that were kind of like things that like specifically with pop-ups? Because I love this approach with pop-ups. And like I said, this idea of just treating it like fun, friends and family at first, backyards, just trying to figure it out and get the word out there and spread awareness, right? Did you learn any tricks of the trade? Do you have advice for people doing pop-ups?
I mean, it was like so, it was so like chill and there was no structure to it. It was like, all right, show up. People are going to be here at 3:00, and we get there in the morning and we just set up like a tent and a table and a barbecue pits behind us, and like we serve.
But at the same time, just start. Right? What is the paralysis by analysis? If you're trying to have the world's best pop-up and nail every little detail about a pop-up, and you don't start until you figure out all the details, you'll never start.
Yeah. So I like a memory that I just thought of was, we like didn't have any recipes dialed in. So I think for like the first one at the friend's backyard, like we went and bought like, all right, we got to go buy like cabbage, and we got to go buy like macaroni noodles, and we're buying like beans, and we got to figure out how we make this like our own. And we're just like sitting in his kitchen, like figuring out and like messing with like recipes a little bit,
tasting it as you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
And like my cousin, he takes credit for like our ginger sesame slaw that he he came up with the idea like when we were 2012, and he still like takes credit for it. And then like we came up with the mac and cheese. Like the mac and cheese that we do now, it's nothing like it was before, but it's like roasted garlic mac and cheese is like what we call it. And like we kind of came up with that idea like right off the get. We just like tweaked the recipe a million times.
This wasn't any cousin though. This is a cousin that has some restaurant experience.
A little bit, yeah. He was like, well, yeah, a little bit. He worked at the same restaurant that I did when he was working back of house. I was working front of house.
Okay. So you're doing these pop-ups. You had basically a backyard pop-up. You had one pop-up at the Midnight Yacht Club, which is one of the spots that Mid-City Yacht Club, which we almost went there the other night. Now I'm really curious to see what it's all about. I want to check it out now. And then you got this deal at Grits. What was the deal he negotiated with you?
It was, so I don't think there was much negotiation. It was like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
you're like, we'll take it.
Yeah. And we were just so excited about the opportunity. Yeah. It was like, I think it was 30% off the top.
I think Phil said 20%.
It may have been 20. I thought it was 30. It may have been 20, and then he went up to 30. 10%. Yeah, I thought it was 30, but I could be wrong. He might be right.
So all the money that came in gross, you got 30% off the top.
Yeah, so like all the transactions would run through the bar. The reason that they were doing it this way instead of renting out the kitchen was like the zoning was all weird. You couldn't have like 2 LLCs under one roof, and so like everything ran through the bar.
Got it. How long were you doing pop-ups at Grits?
We were there for a year.
So it was a pop-up it was a year-long pop-up.
Yeah, basically. So it was Blue Oak at Grits is what we called it.
Okay. And how did you guys evolve during this time? Like what was the evolution for you?
It was so hard. I feel like there wasn't that much. It was just trying to survive and not try to beat your head against the wall during that time. I don't know if there was that much evolution. I think our relationship evolved a little bit because that first year was incredibly hard.
You're talking about Phil and your relationship?
Yeah, like Phil and I's relationship was challenged during that first year, more so than any other year, I would say.
So get into it. What were the hardest times?
Just we were open. My memory is like kind of back and forth, but we were open I think 6 or 7 days a week. Sunday I think we were closed, but then we were open for like Saints games because like the owner's family went there on Sundays to watch Saints games, and so we decided to do that, which was what it was. But so we were like 6 days a week, and you'd open on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and there maybe one person would order food.
Yeah.
So get in there, set up like mise en place, like get everything ready, and then like no one comes, and that's pretty disheartening.
Yeah, I think the way Phil described it was like it was a night spot, so it wouldn't get busy until midnight.
Right, and only like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Like it was only busy like Friday, Saturday night from like midnight to like 4.
And then you'd break down, clean up, go home.
Or go to the bar.
At 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
New Orleans is a crazy freaking city. Dude.
It is very crazy. Yeah, if you want to drink, you can find somewhere to drink at any hour of the day.
What kind of characters are you running into at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, I mean, there's like, there's it's basically like a slumber party at the bar when they're closing. There's just like people like sleeping on like a bench or like just like hunched over on in the corner. It's a gnarly sight.
I can imagine, man.
Yeah.
Get into you were saying that this time really kind of tried, or it was challenging for your relationship with Phil. How bad did it get?
I would describe it this way. Like at one point I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be friends with this dude again.
What did he do? How bad? Like, was it?
Well, it was just like, it was just trying. Like it was just, there wasn't much joy because we weren't making money. It was just like miserable.
Yeah.
And like we weren't doing ourselves any favors by drinking there a lot. And like all of our friends would go there on the weekends. So it was.
How did that hurt what you were trying to do?
Drinking?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a distraction. Mm-hmm. But if we weren't having fun, we may have.
Were you drinking for free? Or is that the reason why you were making $2.50?
Well, I think the only way we were drinking. No, I think the only way we were drinking for free is if friends were buying us drinks. We paid for every drink there, and I don't think we got any sort of discount. We may have, I don't know, but there was a lot of that. And
how'd you get through it?
I think we were just dumb young kids, and we're just like, let's keep going. We're like maybe just dumb enough to just keep it going. Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough year.
So, why leave Grits? What happened?
So there was a combination of things. Like basically the bar was getting less busy, and the owner of the bar was blaming us for people eating too much of our food and then going home. So he basically wanted to he doubled his take. He went up to like 40%.
Okay.
It's like, I'm going to take 40% off the top, something like that. Maybe it was 30. I don't remember. One of those high numbers. One of those like Uber Eats numbers. And we were just like, we can't do this. Like, we're not making money anyway, and you want to like make it even worse.
So there was so much meat in stomachs and not drinks in stomachs.
Right.
Was his.
Which doesn't really, you usually eat to keep going. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that ideology kind of works. Or
Yeah. So what was the plan after that?
So luckily we had one of our close friends, Chelsea, her mom operated a bar in Mid-City called Chikiwawa, which is like a music venue. So it's like a bar with
Who's Chelsea
live
again?
acts. Chelsea Hathaway, she's like one of our best friends.
Okay.
I don't know if Phil had mentioned her or not, but
He may have. He said it was a friend that had an opportunity. I don't know if he mentioned the name.
Right. So her mom was involved in Chikiwawa, and they were kind of in between. Like they had a little same situation with a pop-up in the bar, and they were kind of coming to the end of that relationship, and they approached us about moving in there. We did like a pop-up or two there, and then we decided to shift over, which was like a incredible blessing. That was really like what helped us kind of.
So you did a pop-up or two just as like a trial run to like
Right.
see how it goes.
Yeah, like we had like friends come over. We did like a pig roast, like watched like a Saints game, and it was like great.
And how did you guys negotiate the terms there? Did you learn anything from this first time around?
We didn't. Well, the bar owner, so it was Dale Triguero and Dixie Rubin, and they said come in rent free and just operate.
And these are the
Just
owners
show
of
up.
Chikiwawa?
Right.
And what that's a good deal. It sounds like a really
It's an
great
incredible deal. Yeah, and like we got to run our own POS. Like we didn't have to really. I mean, we just had to follow like their hours. Basically, was like the only thing we had to worry about. It was great. Incredibly fortunate for that.
What was it? For them, what was the rationale to be able to let you come in rent free?
Well, I think I think it's kind of nuts that they did that. Honestly, I just think they're incredibly generous, and they just wanted something to work. And I think they had the food, they believed in the food, and I think they believed in us, and it was awesome. I don't know who else would do that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Knowing what you know now about pop-ups, I mean, you did pop-ups for almost 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before getting into your own brick and mortar. Do you still follow that industry? Do you have thoughts about pop-ups, best practices that you can? Because like I said, I do think that this is the most. I would do a pop-up over a food truck or anything like that. Like, just get your brand out there and start putting food in mouths, start getting followers, start collecting emails, start building your social media platforms, and just get out there and start having fun and cooking and slinging food. But there isn't much advice out there about how to structure it in a way that it creates win-win situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like what have you heard about the right way to structure a pop-up agreement, I guess?
Well, I think a good structure is come and do the food. You don't necessarily have to pay anything, and then we just collect beverage. And
Okay.
you just set up and sell food, which I think is pretty typical.
Yeah. So you get the food sales, we get the drink sales.
Right.
And I think it's weird because that's very typical for like the South, but up north, because there isn't as much access to the outdoors, and I think there's like fewer bars that are set up like that. I think what about if you actually have to be inside in the physical space?
Well, I guess it depends. Like if you're like a resident, like we were, maybe you'd have to come to some understanding, like a rent, like a reasonable rent. And I don't know how you'd quantify it, like based by the, couple hundred square feet that you're using, because you're helping each other. Like you're capturing people that are at the bar, and then you're also getting people to come to the bar to come eat the food.
And there's different types of pop-ups too. There's also there's like when you're in business or you're using the same operating hours, and you're just you're supplementing the offering, right? We do drinks, you do food, but then there's the pop-up where you come here when we're closed during off hours, right? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. So, I don't see that often. When Phil and I we started Blue Oak, we do 7 days a week on our brick and mortar now, but we used to do 6 days, and on Mondays we would kind of host pop-ups like periodically.
Okay, cool.
And then in that scenario, we just collected beverage, and they just came and set up.
Do you think you grew at all professionally during your time at Chikiwawa?
Oh,
This is fun to
100%.
say.
Yeah.
How did you grow?
We started making money.
Yeah. So would you go to like $2.15 an hour to like what, like five an hour?
Yeah, we could treat ourselves at McDonald's once a quarter.
No, but seriously, how much of an
we went through sales that we did at Grits, we'd probably do $2,000 a week, maybe.
Okay. So
probably less than that.
Is this profit that you're making primarily contributed to what? Is it not sharing, not having to pay 20%?
No, it was just business. Like they had like much more consistent business. Like they had shows almost every night, so people were just coming there.
That's true. So it was a volume thing.
Yeah. Well, it was just a volume thing,
Okay.
and people were enjoying the food. They weren't like needed to eat French fries with cheese on it to keep going. They were eating to like actually enjoy a meal. So the ticket average was higher, and people were just appreciating the food more.
So, once you started making money, how did you start doing things differently?
Well, we started hiring people. We were able to hire people. One of our first employees, well, not even employees, a friend of ours, Chef Burns, the original chef in our eyes. We would pay him in chicken wings like a Grits.
Wow.
Like we'd want to go to a Saints game. We'd give him he'd work like 4 hours. We'd give him like 16 wings.
That's crazy. Yeah. What do you think the biggest growth was for you during this time at Chikiwawa? You were there for almost a year, right?
No, we were there for like 2.5 years.
That's right, 2.5 years. It was Grits that was a year, I think.
Right. Grits was just about a year.
So when did you know your time to say, hey, Chikiwawa, this was great. We appreciate everything you've done for us. We need to move on. How did you know you were ready?
So we just started. We were getting to a point to where we were the bar was getting confusing whether it was Blue Oak or Chikiwawa. Like if people were coming to Chikiwawa to come to Blue Oak or vice versa to Chikiwawa to see the music.
Yeah.
So it became this kind of struggle because in order to get in the door you had to pay a cover. So it became this like thing of like
people like, I don't care about the music. I just want to get
like food.
Yeah.
So that became like an issue, and we were getting bigger. So we were ready to go. We started saving money.
Was it an issue more for you or for Chikiwawa?
I would say it was more for Chikiwawa.
Yeah.
Because it is a music venue, and they do collect cover.
Yeah.
And a lot of people there were not there for the food. So
well, I can see from your perspective too. You're like, maybe people I really want Blue Smoke, but I don't.
Blue Oak.
Wow. So the reason why this is because there's a Blue Smoke in New York.
Yes.
And they're on my radar. And
we're big fans.
And we are big fans. And I keep on spitting that out. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Thank you for correcting me. If I say that again, please do correct me. For Blue Oak, I can see that being an issue too, because what does it cost? Like if I want to, what was your number one seller?
Probably like wings or ribs or briskets.
And how much would you charge for that?
At the time, food cost wasn't what it is now. So order of wings might be like $9 or $10, and then they would have to pay a cover. So then the wings turned from like $9 to $20.
Exactly. If you want some good barbecue, are you willing to pay a cover to go get it? That's a good question to ask.
Yeah. Well, it was a great space. Like it was a great venue, but it was such a small room and a lot of the acts were more quiet. It wasn't like this rock and roll bands all the time. It was like singer songwriter stuff often. So it was quiet. So if people were there to have a good time, they'd be talking, and then other people would be shh, be quiet. There's music playing.
Yeah,
which was the thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I think it's good because it's a good place to start. It's a good place to develop awareness and to cut your teeth and to grow and to work on your systems and to refine your recipes.
Right.
And to kind of hone those things in, and that's what that time should be used for, right? But there is a timeline on it. I think that you can only do that for so long before you have to kind of get out and spread your own wings.
Yeah, that was the biggest, reflecting on the whole process, being able to figure things out with not much risk in the beginning was so valuable.
And how was your relationship with Phil now during this time?
It was good. We're it was because we weren't overworking ourselves too. So it was the drinking, the overworking, no money coming in. That just created this bad environment.
Yeah. Were you guys starting to develop lanes at this point?
I think so.
What
yeah,
were they?
we were both. We were just kind of keeping our heads above water for a bit, but there it was I would focus more on the food, and he would kind of do other stuff like admin stuff, and more operation. So like, you know, it kind of started. So now it's like Phil's like kind of more operational and more like culinary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like it started to show its head.
What makes Phil a good partner?
I think Phil, like, his strengths are my weaknesses.
What are his strengths?
He's incredibly organized.
Yeah, I saw his folder, his little notebook.
Yeah,
earlier.
he's got great attention to detail. He's thoughtful. He like takes time to make decisions. I'm like more of like a like instant decisions without really thinking about stuff, which is a huge, you know, issue with me, I'd say.
Yeah.
So you know, it's we have a good pairing, and we've been great friends since we were little. So it just works out.
And if he was sitting here and I asked him that same question, what would he say about you?
You know, I think he's, you know, it's like my passion for food and getting it right and kind of not settling for this dish if it's not right, and like kind of, you know, I'm definitely more like culinary side, I would say.
And I would add this on just from talking to you, and correct me if I'm making assumptions, but it kind of feels like you're the risk taker. You're the one that's going to go, you're the one that pushes and charges ahead and says, let's go do this.
I wouldn't say that. Maybe. I mean,
you called him up to, you know, go up the Vale.
Right.
You brought him. Like
I feel like as we're getting older, it might be opposite. I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I think, I don't know. It depends on I guess it depends on like the scenario. Because if we're really passionate about something, we'll be more like aggressive.
But I've seen that as being a trend in the people I've spoke to. Their partners, one person is the one that just charges ahead. And then they're the person that's usually more organized and thoughtful and attention to detail is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go. But did you think of this?
Right. Well, that's exactly what that is. I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, but he's also aggressive too.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say like he's like risk averse. I think he's just more thoughtful. Like I might just be like more like gunslinging. Like,
so if you're listening to this, try to figure out which lane you belong in and try to find somebody who compliments you.
Right.
You might need to be held back.
And it's just like lucky, you know. It's just the way it worked out, and you know, we're incredibly blessed.
So you looked at a couple.
Other, I think.
You looked at a couple spots. You didn't get the first couple spots you wanted.
We looked at a lot of spots. Yeah.
Take us through that process.
It was difficult. So obviously, like we needed like a very easy point of entry. Like we didn't have money to be buying like a building that required a build out. Really, we needed something that was pretty turnkey. Which was an issue because there wasn't a ton. Like during this time, you know, the economy was pretty booming down here. There was like a big movie scene at that time, like they called New Orleans like Hollywood South during that time for the mid 2010s, probably those first 5-6 years. And so it was hard to find stuff because New Orleans was just like kind of booming. So finding anything turnkey was extremely challenging. So we just kind of had to be patient. And every time something came up, we're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't work out because we were unproven.
Yeah, or undercapitalized.
People didn't want to take a risk. And
yeah.
It just, you know, nobody wanted it.
But these are all real challenges people need to be aware of. It
right.
takes time and just a little bit of luck to finally get into that right
It's like
space.
a chicken and egg thing. It's like, you don't have any credit. Well, it's like, well, I can't get a credit card to start credit. It's like, well, yeah, it's because you don't have credit. Well, it's like, well, how do I like start this process? I don't know.
Right?
It's like, where do I begin?
Yeah.
So, you know, we just needed someone to take a chance on us.
You just keep showing up, you know, persistence and patience.
Right.
That's how you do it.
So we had a good customer of ours, Casey Burka. I've been name dropping a lot.
Yeah. Drop these names. We love tagging people.
So Casey Burka and Ben Jacobson, they have like a realty firm here. So he used to come to Blue Oak at Chikiwawa, and he liked the food. And, you know, we told him that we're interested in stuff like getting the ball rolling. So he introduced us to the current location, which is at 900 North Carrollton. At that point, it was like a Mediterranean restaurant called Fellini's.
Okay.
And the current tenant and landlord, Fellini's, they also own the building. They were getting out of the business. They were kind of done with it. And so we approached them about leasing from them. And like, we don't really want to do barbecue. Like barbecue, I think they said they tried it before or whatever, and it just doesn't work. And we're like, okay, well, that kind of sucks. But then they were like, all right, we're going to sell the building. And then another person came and bought the building. And they were like, let's do it. Y'all can rent from me.
So how did you convince them?
We had to sit down.
Yeah.
We had to go to his office. We were two young guys. At that point we were 27, 28. We just kind of got really excited and went over there and very nervous and sat in this big office, and he's on the other side of this big desk, and we just kind of had to pitch ourselves.
How'd you get the meeting?
Because our realtors that set it up.
Okay.
There
wasn't an email or a note associated with this?
No, I think the realtor had just set it all up, and then we just went there and talked to him. Sat at his desk and basically pitched ourselves.
Okay. So how did you pitch yourself?
How did we pitch ourselves? I mean, we just talked about what we do and how passionate we are, and we have a following, and we need an opportunity at a restaurant. We're ready, and we've been doing it for a long time.
What is it about the way you pitch yourself that you think won these people over?
I think we're really confident. I think we believed in what we were doing.
Yeah.
We didn't hesitate. We just said that we know what we're doing and we're ready, and we've been figuring this thing out for 4+ years, and we're ready to go.
If you're willing to show up for 4 years, making barely anything for most of that time, and able to persist and grow like that, that's a good horse to bet on. It's only going to get better, right?
Yeah.
What was it about the space that was right for you?
I mean, the location is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Mid-City.
Mm-hmm.
It's right on a streetcar line. It's got this great kind of corner presence. It's got outdoor space. It basically had a turnkey kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect.
What made the key turnkey? What made the kitchen turnkey?
I mean, they had grease trap. They had a hood. They had all the
big ticket items.
Yeah, right. All the big items that we could avoid.
And I feel like with barbecue, most of your cooking's probably done outside, right?
Yeah. So what we did was we cut out a hole in the wall and put a smoker, and we've actually added more smokers outside since. But they didn't have any smokers or anything. That was kind of we just put it in the wall.
Most of your other cooking aside from the smoking is cold prep, like salads and correct me if I'm wrong, but
so we have hot sides, okay. Brussels sprouts is our most popular item, meat or not, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah, it was ready to go. I mean, it pretty much had everything we needed.
I mean, barbecue is one of the more affordable, lower overhead items, because if you're cooking outside, there's a lot less regulation involved with that.
Yeah, we didn't start that way. We kind of did. We had to buy the smoker. We put it in the wall. It was kind of this aesthetic thing we were going for. So
did you have to get a loan to do all this?
We did. I think we had a line of credit.
Okay.
But most banks said they couldn't give us a loan.
Was there a number of credit, or did you know how much credit you had and how much you had to spend to get it to that point where you could open?
I think we maybe had a $50,000 line of credit, something like that. And I'm drawing a blank. I think Phil may have already answered this, but
I think he said 120,000.
The credit line?
I thought that's what I heard.
That may have been right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much of that did you use to get open?
See, that's his operational side answering these questions.
The lanes are starting to form right now. Yeah. So reflecting back at this time, knowing what you know now, would you have done anything different? Would you give yourself, the past version of yourself, any advice?
When we opened, I mean, I think we did a great. I kind of applaud. I would say I would tap myself on the shoulder for keeping it going for so long. I mean, I just felt like it was dumb luck that and just being kind of ignorant to the situation that we're in, to just keep on pushing forward.
I think this is exactly what they mean when they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had known in 2012 that you would have of what was ahead of you, and that you wouldn't be able to get your restaurant ready and going until 2016, making $2.15 an hour for a good chunk of that, would you have done it?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Bliss.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what were the challenges in the early days? So reflecting back, what was really hard for you?
I mean, just transitioning to the volume. We went from serving maybe 50 people a day on a busy day to serving 500.
Yeah.
Overnight, basically.
Yeah. How did you handle that? How did you adapt?
I mean, it was the first 6 months we were open, I think we were working from 7 a.m. to midnight every day.
Wow.
For 6 days. And then on the weekdays, and on the one day we were closed, we were prepping. So just like we had never had a dishwasher, like, oh shit, we need a dishwasher, like badly.
Yeah.
We would like go through this lunch service, and then you go to the dish pit, and it was like
mountain
dish, like incredible, like Mount Everest of mountain. Be like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna be back here for 3 hours.
Right.
Y'all like figure out us getting set up for dinner.
That's the difference between 5 hours of sleep and 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
There.
Exactly. it was just nuts. Like transitioning to that, and it was wild. It was crazy, just like long hours, and it was exciting because like we were seeing numbers that we had never seen before, and it was crazy.
Yeah. So when you first opened in the Blue Oak location that it is today, the actual brick and mortar, who was there? How many people were involved?
We had our chef was there. It was like Phil and I. We had some of our cooks that had come over from Chihuahua. We had like a handful of those guys. I think it was like 5 or 6 or so.
So you say your chef, were you no longer the person that was in charge of the meat, the smoking?
No, it was like we were like it was basically in tandem. But
Okay.
he was like, our culinary expertise is pretty limited in terms of like technique. So we kind of needed somebody to be like a little more robust to help us with like specials and stuff like that, because we know how to cook barbecue, but like kind of getting more refined and getting some more like kind of unique items going was important to us.
So what were to handle the volume, the increase in volume, you hired more. What else did you do?
We had to structure things. We had to figure out like, when people should come in, how long they should stay, hire the right amount of people, which we just mentioned. It was just like a day by day, like how do we get a little bit better?
Yeah.
Like systems, working out systems, because the line was new. So how do we like get everything from like the fryer to the plate, or from the smoker to the plate? Just figuring things out, just trial and error. And
is there anything you did wrong, looking back and being like, wow, we really fucked up that?
I remember like this is like something small, but I just remember it. It was like we started out with like little boats, and when you're filling up sides of like beans, and these little boats are like super flimsy and they're falling around everywhere. So like figuring that out took a little bit.
So is the lesson there, don't kind of skimp on, I guess, user experience. Like it might be delicious beans, but like it's better in your mouth, not in your pants.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that. I would also like, I was like pretty stressed and strained at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was quick to like kind of get upset, and I've kind of like gotten away from that still a little bit.
What changed inside of you? What's the inner dialogue now?
I think just like coming to the reality that doesn't really work anymore.
What happens when you do that?
It's usually never something positive.
Something bad happened. You respond with doing something bad. Two bads don't make it good, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
like it's like positive reinforcement's the key.
Yeah. So when something happens today, what's the process for you?
Usually, you just kind of talk to somebody. Just talk to them. Not raise your voice or anything.
What are you trying to communicate when you talk to them?
Just like usually it's like you mention something that's positive, and then if there's anything that's not positive, you kind of just follow with that. I find.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm like a genius at this thing. I think Phil's much more of a people person than I am.
Yeah.
And he knows how to.
You're doing pretty good.
Phil knows how to massage more than I do, I would say.
Yeah, he's tactful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He is tactful.
Again, back to like this idea of growth and scale, and you're hiring more. You're relying more on. I can't remember the terms you used, but process. Did you say process? Maybe.
Yeah.
What were the things that you were doing in your business that was like a step up, like that kind of took you to the next level, that made you run smoother, more profitably, more efficiently? Like, what were the big changes you made going forward?
I think just having enough people, and like and not necessarily relying on us to be there all the time. It's like give other people more opportunity, and then we can kind of step away and look at the bigger picture.
Was it hard for you to do that, to step away?
Oh, like absolutely. I still struggle with it, like not being in the kitchen all the time, because that's like what I like to do, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like more like behind a desk, or like running errands and doing that. So
how have you evolved to cope with that? What do you know to be true that helps you kind of deal with it?
I think like sometimes things just operate better when there aren't like always eyes and nitpickiness going on.
Yeah.
Like kind of let people do their thing, and if they make mistakes, then we'll figure it out. But kind of let them grow.
So you guys opened 2016, right? That location.
The brick and mortar, yeah.
Yeah.
420.
Yeah.
2016.
Well, you're smoking stuff, so it makes sense.
Yeah, right.
So, so 6 years later, looking back at where you were then and what you are now, what are the biggest differences?
I mean, I think like for me professionally, I'm just much more calm than like I used to be. I don't know, man. It's like
you didn't change anything about your business. There's been no evolution.
I mean, it's such like a big question. I'd have to like sit and think about it a little bit. I mean, you know, there's like nitpicky thing. Like we started doing takeout, or not doing, like we started taking call-in orders like 2 or 3 years ago because we couldn't handle it, and then we started like introducing like delivery.
You started taking call-in orders?
Yeah, like any orders like to go. Like you couldn't call in and order like a brisket sandwich. You'd have to come and order it because we didn't have enough like firepower to do it.
So you would only focus on in-house.
Right.
I think that's a good lesson. I think people get in trouble. They let their takeout and their delivery mess with their in-house operation. But
I mean, because I feel like the guest that's in the building is priority number one.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys put a lot of emphasis on scaling and improving by attracting onto yourself people. So what is it about you and Blue Oak that lets you attract on people? Why Blue Oak? You could work in, there's how many hundreds, if not thousands, of restaurants?
Yeah, I think there are like a couple thousand
in New Orleans.
You know, I think it's a fun place to work.
Yeah.
I think the compensation is really fair. I think we offer health insurance, which I think is pretty unique in our industry. And I think there's room for growth. You know, we're creating opportunities where people can step up and kind of excel.
How can you offer health insurance? There's a lot of people that say my margins are small enough, I can't afford to pay health insurance. How have you found that? How have you figured that out?
We just like, you know, we looked at it. It's when we shook it all down, it was basically like $1 an hour per person, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if somebody works 40 hours a week, like the total bill to that, you know, like we pay for half. So it was just like a dollar raise, which whether we could figure out a way to make that work. There was like, you know, adjust the prices here or there just to kind of make it all shake out.
Did you shop around a lot?
For health insurance?
Yeah.
We just talked to a broker, and you know, I don't think there was a ton of options. It was difficult to enter too, because to get the initial health insurance going, they needed like 70% of the staff to be on board with it, which is like a really hard point, because a lot of people just, you know,
a lot of people probably are covered under their parents' health insurance.
Right, that, and then like
Yeah.
people just don't want to spend money on, you know, it's kind of like you're paying for a what if, and people don't really like to pay for the what if.
Yeah. You don't need it until you need it.
Yeah, so it's really, it took us
when you're 18 to 22 years old and you're like,
Right.
nothing can stop me, you know?
Right.
I'm not going to spend my money on health insurance. I'm going to go out to the bar and
Yeah, I don't break the
get
bus
to the point where I
breaks.
need health insurance.
Right. Yeah. So like the point of entry for like restaurants is much more harder because it's, you know, usually the staff could be a little younger. People just like to have their money and make their own decisions with it, not necessarily put it away towards.
If it's just $1 an hour per person on average to get health insurance, why do you think our industry doesn't do that?
I think one is maybe that it's just hard to get because, like I said, like there's variables of people want it or not wanting it. It's just like a hard way to enter, and I just think margins are tight, and
I would imagine turnover has a lot to do
and
with
we're
it too.
lucky because
Yeah.
you know we're a pretty high volume restaurant,
Yeah.
and you know we do a good amount of business, so we probably have a little more flexibility than smaller like po' boy shops or other places.
So are you in the restaurant every day cooking today?
No.
What had to happen for you to be able to get out of the restaurant? What does your restaurant have today that it didn't have then, other than people, that lets you get out?
Well, the biggest thing was Phil saying you got to get out of the kitchen so we can make this puppy grow.
So what's a life in the life of Ronnie look like today?
So wake up in the morning, drop my kids off at school, and then go and kind of check in with the kitchen, see how things are going, like run errands, answer emails, like do any maintenance calls, like, you know, set that all up. Like just, it's like there's not like a ton of structure to it.
When you're working on the business, what are you working
on? We've been like working on new concepts, refining recipes. We're trying to like get more recipes like fine-tuned, like introduce more like software stuff to where we can kind of get ready for location number 2.
So when you say refine a recipe, what revisions are you making?
Like eliminating variables. Like, you know, if salt is measured by volume, maybe we should measure it by weight, and maybe it's not measured by like English system. It's like metric, which we haven't even gotten into yet, but I think that's a way to. We've like that's always been like a goal.
What changed in your business where you were forced to get into metrics and weigh things out?
What changed?
Yeah, I have an idea.
I mean, I think the rest, like everything's gotten better. Everything's gotten more consistent.
Yeah.
Like we're always working on our processes too,
Yeah.
like how we do things, and and you kind of need to monitor and see, like, oh, you have to use this tool to create this mac and cheese, but you're using this one and it's creating this variable, and we didn't think about that before, and how it works. So it's just kind of like tweaking, and you know, we've been working on we still work on recipes every day almost, I would say, like trying to fine tune things.
Yeah. What are your strengths today? What are you doing?
My strengths
in the business? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what haven't we talked about as far as how to work on the business, how to grow the business, the lane you belong in that has contributed to the success you're having?
I think we, you know, trying to like always keep our cooks and myself like evolving and trying to come up with like new creative things to introduce to our menu that's we haven't seen before or that we can try out. Just kind of keeping creativity going.
Yeah.
Because we're very like special driven at Blue Oak.
Which is uncommon for barbecue.
Yeah, so it's like it is unique, but I look at like Leroy and Lewis and Austin. I also look at like Home Team and
past guests on the show.
Yeah,
they're
Fox
awesome.
Brothers Barbecue, like a lot of we've become friends with over the years, and we always look at these guys like they have great barbecue, but they also have like great specials, and it's not only barbecue. Like people can come and eat a great salad and not have to have like a plate of ribs. Like it can kind of suit any palate.
Got it. So why is it so important to stay creative and to constantly have specials? What does that do for your team?
I think I think it kind of gets people out of like the doldrums of like day to day like routine. Gets like the kind of your juices flowing, like mentally kind of thinking creatively. And I think it's just fun. And I also think like when we do specials on Instagram, we'll highlight, if it's someone special in the kitchen, we'll highlight who that person is.
Yeah. So people, why is that important?
I just think like give praise when praise is due.
What does that do for your people when they feel seen?
I think it's like I think it makes them stoked. I would be stoked if like, you know, I created this dish and then it's on social media and we were pretty good social media presence, and knowing that I'm there, and like we have one of our chefs, his name's Ben Bushi, and he came up with the barbecue baked potato, which is like, you know, baked potatoes are not like a crazy culinary revolution, but like we, you know, threw brisket in there and sour cream and all this stuff, and it's like a hit, and we do it every Thursday, and we call it like Bushi's big old baked potato.
So what you're describing right now on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is literally right. It's the most important thing that we need. Second or third, I guess I would say third to first. We need shelter and warmth and, you know, like food, right? Second is security. Third is belonging and being seen. That's how important it is. We're tribal. We need to be valued. We need to feel like we're a part of it. And when you give your people an opportunity to be seen, to be valued, to contribute, that's so powerful. That's longevity. That's how people stick around. They belong to something. Have you seen that? Can you back that up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important, and we started doing it like a while ago. Like our head chef, Chef T-Rex, we call him. You know, every time he puts a special up, we put a little icon with a little chef, and we put his name, and then he like reposts it, and then people start following it. Like it gets notoriety, because I don't think it's fair for a special to come out and be like, people assume that Blue Oak's Phil and Ronnie, and it's not really us. We're creating the environment to create the special, but this guy's doing it or this gal's doing it, like whoever.
Have you heard the expression "give credit where credit's due"?
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, of course. So you also mentioned that you're working on, like, I asked you what you're doing, like what's the life of Ronnie today, and you said other concepts. Why is growth important to you right now? What's driving growth?
Well, I mean, growth. We've been doing Blue Oak 1 for a while now, and we're kind of just getting antsy to do something new, and it also just gives opportunities for people that are kind of in the ranks.
Bingo. Right after being seen and valued is personal growth. And you need to know, if you want people to stick around, they need to know that there's something else. They need to know there's something next for me. I need to grow. I need opportunity. Is that intentional?
Yeah, I think we always have like battle with Blue Oak, like just the one, because we always have great people come through, and we're like, well, how many chefs can you have? How many sous chefs or whatever? Like, there's only so many opportunities you can kind of create under one roof. But as we expand, like we're opening a restaurant in Huntsville, it's like, wow, we need like a chef, we need sous chefs, we need a GM, we need an AGM, we need a catering person. Like, there's so many great positions that are open to anybody. So like we can create these job like opportunities. And we're working on like another concept too, and like that's another thing that could do. So it's like, yeah, that's totally part of the intention, is to help people grow and make room.
You said other concepts. Are you looking to do more Blue Oaks, or do you want to try completely new concepts?
I mean, I think it's cool to just have like a bunch of different restaurants and have like a little like restaurant group. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. What's your plan for structuring that? Like your business model, your business plan?
That's a great question. I think we're working so much on like systems and processes for Huntsville that once we get them all kind of figured out and dialed in, that we can I think that can help really accelerate growth, whether it's barbecue or whether it's another concept or whatever, like a broccoli restaurant. Anything that
restaurant.
We can take.
Is that
like,
one of your plans?
Yeah.
Really?
No, that would be sweet.
I mean, broccoli is great for you.
I love broccoli, but I don't think it would
goes
do that
good
well.
with a lot of things. Just take there's poutine. Poutine restaurants.
Yeah,
right.
I think
replace the French fries with broccoli.
Cheese and fries are probably a little more approachable than the heads of broccoli.
Healthy is trendy right now. You might have something.
That's
there.
what I want to eat when I get home, is the head of broccoli. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to create systems and processes where it's like you can kind of plug and play.
Yeah.
We create these systems, and then we just, all right, well, let's introduce these recipes to this system, and everything will kind of shake out. So I think it'll help us kind of scale much quicker once we do all this nitty gritty stuff, which is something that's challenging.
So you mentioned too that you started leveraging technology, implementing technology to grow and scale. What role has technology played?
Well, I would say hugely, and they're a sponsor of your show, this is not a paid advertisement, but during COVID, we have Toast, and we put Toast into play like right when we started. Or I'm sorry, right before COVID started, we put Toast into play.
Was it the show that made you guys aware of Toast? Where's my kickback?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Come on, Toast.
Well, it was like I heard it from y'all's from the podcast, and I also heard just other peers around town saying how great it was. And then when COVID happened, they had like just released online ordering, or it had been just released or was around, and we just never dealt with it because we couldn't handle it. But like right when COVID started happening, they shut down indoor dining. We just hit this button, and then we had online ordering, and it like kind of saved the business.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about the numbers. You're doing what, 30 to 40% takeout now with your business?
I would say so. I mean, during that time it was 100 because there was no indoor dining allowed at all.
How did that affect your business? Was there a negative
from takeout?
Yeah.
I mean, we have had an issue with volume because we have so many takeout orders that come in, and like a box is twice the size of a normal plate, and we only have like so big of an expo window that it's hard to manage it all.
Bottleneck a little bit.
Right. And online ordering, like orders just come through and come through and come through. There's no like, we haven't figured out a way to like really kind of dial it back a little bit. So they just come through, and then it just gets the kitchen kind of weeded. Yeah. But that's like a good problem. Like I'm not, we're trying to figure out how to handle it all, but
yeah. What are some of your ideas?
We're working on doing like a little takeout room.
Okay.
So basically adding a second line.
That's the answer. I was hoping you would say it, but that's the answer. If you're doing high volume takeout, dedicate a whole nother line to it, because you're going to screw up your in-house experience.
Yeah.
People are going to come to your restaurant and they're going to go, I've been here for 45 minutes and I still haven't gotten my food.
Yeah.
And there's tables open. What's going on back there?
And it's like stressful for the kitchen too,
Yeah.
because because on a given shift there could be 300 tickets, 400 tickets, like during like a shift, like if it's really jamming, and it's just like you can only put so many plates out at once, and it kind of gets everybody backed up, and it just kind of creates strain. So it's gonna just help so many things.
You started using Restaurant 365 too, right?
Yeah, we just started. We're like just about to get into it, but not totally in yet.
Okay.
Like we've signed up, but we're not like in it. Like we don't really know the nuts and bolts yet.
Got it. Anything we haven't discussed up to this point, like an area of expertise, something that you think needs to be discussed that you were hoping to discuss?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would just, I would, if you could figure out a path like we took to get to a brick and mortar, I think that's the route.
Yeah, specifically pop-ups slowly,
Yeah.
let cash flow, let awareness, let people grow organically over time. What am I missing?
Yeah, and just figure it out. Like dial in recipes, like just start small and then figure out what works, what doesn't work. And then slowly get bigger and bigger. And then once you're ready, you're ready, and you go open a restaurant.
Yeah, I love that. So you kind of already answered the question, but for the sake of kind of keeping structure to the show, the mission statement is to inspire. You've definitely inspired us. You've empowered us. You've given us some knowledge. We feel like we're a little bit more knowledgeable now, and to transform the industry. How have you transformed personally? Who are you today versus the man you were just getting started in this industry?
More of a father, since I have kids now.
Yeah.
So that's big. I think I've learned to be a little bit more patient. Learned to like understand where other people are coming from. Try to get more perspective. I think compassion's like really key. I'm drawing a blank. I was about to say something else, but it's just the restaurant is. I feel like if I could have done it all over, I'd probably gone to like psychology, gotten like a psychology degree or something, because understanding how people work and how to inspire and get people motivated to work is so important. Can't get over how important that is.
The core of business is relationships. That's all it is how to manage people and relationships. Yeah. And you guys have done a great job at that. And, the reason why I asked that question about how to view transform is because I believe that if you're going to grow and scale as a business owner, you need to grow and scale as a person. You need to improve as a person. But on that note, where do you think the industry is right now? So one of the things I'm trying to do with Restaurant Unstoppable is to change the world by changing the restaurant industry. I think we can do it because we just touch so many people in this industry. We're influencers. Young people come through our industry. We mold the future. What needs to change about the world, and how can the restaurant industry do that?
The restaurant industry has been getting so battered by all these variables, like basically driven by COVID. It's like, I just think at some point we're just gonna have to start charging a lot more for food, and then creating more opportunities for growth. I think creating jobs that have like livable and fair wages is extremely important. I think benefits are important. Mm-hmm. Like we offer healthcare, like mental care. Like you can get 2 free like mental care consulting sessions a month for free. Just like creating a more equitable life for employees.
I 100% agree. If we're going to change the lifestyle for our employees, we need to get the resources we need to give them the lifestyle they deserve, which all goes back, it just goes upriver to we need to charge more for food. How are we going to convince the consumer that they need to pay more for their food?
I think it's going to be challenging. I think because, I don't think food has really changed much with the times in terms of price.
I mean, it has changed a lot with the times, but in the wrong direction. I could argue since like the 50s, we've industrialized the food system, and it's been about how can we get more food for less money. and we've broken the food system because of it, and that's why half of us can't eat bread anymore without shitting our pants. You know what I mean? Like we're fucking the system up. You know, like
I don't even know where to begin with that.
Yeah, so like it's because we're focusing on the wrong things more for less, and the food is taking a hit, and as a result of that, our health is taking a hit. So I think it's a matter of convincing people that, listen, like if you want to be happier or healthier, you need to start eating real food. And guess what? You don't know the value of food anymore because we've destroyed the value of food. We have misconstrued the value of food, and the consumer is convinced that a burger should cost $5. That's so fucked up. You know, a burger should cost $18, $20 because that's what it costs to raise an animal, to feed it well, you know, and to humanely process it.
Right.
It costs money. We fucked shit up. So I think it's education, you know, but you have to put the consumers, like this is beneficial for you. You know, it's for you. It's not for us. It's for you. I think that's the answer.
Yeah.
I hope that's the answer.
I mean, yeah.
This isn't my time to what do you think
No,
about that?
I mean, I educating is important. I think you can use the tools that social media gives you and kind of make people aware of like what things. Maybe you could just show them like this is what it costs. This is what.
People are selfish though. I think they won't, unless they know there's something in it for me, they won't take action. And people, if you show them what's in it for them, you're gonna be happier and healthier. They'll start spending money.
We're trying to start like leaning more towards like happier animals is what they call. Like I guess no animal's happy when they go to the slaughterhouse, but you know, animals that are raised a little more humanely. Trying to get into that. It's like it's like basically jumping off the cliff and saying like, all right, we're gonna spend double what we're spending now on pork butts, and we're going to spend X more on ribs, and we're already kind of doing that with brisket, but like it's just like so much more, and then like everything's got to jump way up, and everything's already jumping up. And
I think the other thing that needs to happen is what's happening right now. We got to talk in the industry, and we all have to kind of buckle arms and go together and say this is what it costs, because we can't undershoot each other anymore. We can't just try to charge a penny less than the guy down the street, because over time it just keeps going lower, and lower. This has been a great conversation, man. All right, we're back, and the first question I have for you is, what is your it factor? A habit, a trait, a characteristic you believe most contributes to your success?
I would say persistence.
What is your biggest weakness?
Biggest weakness? I probably get hyped up too easily. Working on it.
What is one question you ask or thing you look for when you're growing your team?
I would say great attitude and good work ethic.
What is one of your biggest challenges today?
People.
How are you overcoming that challenge?
Just like trying to do research and trying to think about people from their perspective. I think is key.
Share one code of conduct or behavior you teach your team, a core value, a way to be, a way to act.
I would say, you know, honesty, being honest.
What is one uncommon standard of service you teach your team? So this is a way to go above and beyond what's expected from the guest. That's not common throughout the industry.
I would, you know, always have a smile on your face. I would say that.
What is one book that's a must read to make us a better person or restaurant owner?
I mean, you already know it.
You can't say Denny Meyer staring at the table.
I know you can't say it, but like the only books I'm reading right now are like little cardboard books that I read to my daughter. Okay. So, you know,
those ones go by pretty fast though.
Yeah, they do. You can just blow through them. You can read like 10 or 20 in 30 minutes. No problem.
You can say Danny Meyer sitting at the table.
I mean, he's just. I would. You know, I was thinking about it. I love listening to listening or reading Anthony Bourdain's book, or you know.
He's actually got a new one coming out. It's obviously he didn't write the new one, but it's like a, I don't know how they put it together, but there's like a, I don't know. There's something I'm interested in.
Yeah, Kitchen Confidential I think is really cool because it just gives you perspective and know that you're like that everyone kind of has these like struggles.
Yeah, and on that vein of setting the table, what was the biggest lesson that you got from that book?
I think hospitality. You know, I used to think of restaurants. I used to think that restaurants, if you had great food, it didn't matter about ambiance or service. that like if the food was great, people were going to come. But I think it's everything. You got everything's got to be dialed in.
Yeah. What is one thing you feel restaurateurs don't do well enough or often enough?
I would say like appreciate their people. I mean, everybody can grow in that regard.
Name one service you've hired or outsourced. So this isn't a technology. This is a person or a group of people who do something better than you could ever do, and you might as well outsource and have them do it instead of trying to do it in-house.
I would say accounting.
And who did you guys use for accounting?
We use Tim Baudier at Didactic Tax Services.
I'm pretty sure that's the same exact thing Phil said, which is good.
Yeah.
If you guys
accounting, like I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Is he national or is he just local?
He's local,
Okay.
but maybe he wants to go national, so hit him
maybe
up.
this will help him.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit him up if you're in southern Illinois, Louisiana. Why the fuck did I say Illinois?
Yeah. I don't know. Illinois is a great
place. Where the hell
though.
am I? I move around too much. What is one technology you've recently adopted that's had a huge impact on communication, efficiency, profitability, anything along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I would say online ordering through Toast has been huge.
Mm-hmm.
So big. Just the access, the ease of the app. It's been great.
Any technologies that have you interested that you're really considering?
I mean, I feel like I'm like forced to get into TikTok with the restaurant. I just don't know how to. I need to start shooting videos and stuff. But that's like.
Well, these guys behind us might be able to help you out with that. And this is the last question. It's a doozy. Get ready for it. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you working in your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom you could leave behind for the good of humanity and for your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
I mean, I would go back to the mantra and I'd say, like work hard, like do whatever you do it the best you can.
1.
Have fun while you're doing it.
2.
And then save some time for your family.
3. This has been a lot of fun, Ronnie. Thank you so much for making time for us to share your story,
Thank
your
you.
knowledge, and your mentorship. We wrap up every chat by calling somebody out. Who do you respect and admire? And if you found out they were a guest on the show tomorrow, you'd absolutely be listening to that
Okay,
episode.
I'm going to name a few.
Give them to me.
All right. Kevin Bain from Boca Group. Huge fan. We've met with him a couple months ago. He was awesome. Neil Bodenheimer, Cure Group. He's always been a mentor to us since we were very small. He's always been awesome, always quick to like hop on a phone call. Real quick, like if I shoot him a text and ask him a question, he'll return with a call. And he just will take time to talk to you on the phone. And he's been doing that since we're like itty bitty to now, and he's an amazing guy.
Just to kind of reinforce that, we're sitting in his restaurant, Cure, right now.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's helping making this interview happen. He's lined up next. We're going to be talking to him. So
awesome.
And you know that Kevin was on the show, right?
Who?
Kevin Bam.
Of course. That's why I learned about it.
I was going to say, make sure you listen to that episode.
No, because I've listened to it probably 5 times.
Okay.
An amazing guy and super impressive. And 2 other guys. Doug Saltis, he has a restaurant in Chicago called Andros Taverna, or Andros Taverna. Forgive me, Doug, if I messed that up. And Christian Ekman.
Christian Ekman. Is he?
Yeah, he's with Let Us Entertain You.
Okay. These are some great names. Thank you so much. Look out, guys. I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you on the show. And again, just thank you and Phil so much for being as supportive as you've been to Restaurant Unstoppable. You guys
Huge fans.
Helping us connect with so many amazing people to make this interview happen. You have a lot of love and respect in the city. I hope you guys know that, because when I drop your names, everyone's like, yeah, we'll do this. This is awesome. We love those guys.
Cool.
So,
that's great to hear.
There is no questioning, my man. You are unstoppable.